All right, so my name is Ron Dameron. I'm a lead DBA at a large insurance company here in the United States, currently based in Florida. Let me see here. And notes are like, that's what I want to do, get this out of the way. Okay, so right now, automation and security are a big focus for me. This is something, what I'm about to present is something I had to work on a couple years ago and still have to maintain. As you can see, I'm on Twitter. I usually tweet about just a whole variety of things, IT, sci-fi, softball, books I've read. But it's just a good way for me to let people know what I'm like. I also blog at Blogger. I have my own domain name now, ronalddameron.com. And then if you Google my name, you can find me. So let's see. So this is kind of what it looks like if you Google my name. This was right before I presented at Magic Pass. I presented the same talk at Magic Pass, which is the Orlando SQL Server user group on the Disney side of Orlando. It also gives you an idea of where I'm most active, obviously on Twitter, on the blog, and then I'm just trying to make it easier for people to get to know me when I have to interview for the next job. And I think you should always know when you Google your name, what this should turn, what this turns up. Because, for instance, there's no embarrassing selfies of me. Just me going to Disney World with my kids after the last SQL Saturday. So the real quick agenda, why are we going to do this? There's 6 steps to locking down a server. I'll show you what the SQL looks like. I'll do a demo of the script, and I also added last night a few demos of permissions, what kind of permissions, or what kind of few simple tasks that you think that you need to be sysadmin for, and surprisingly, you don't. I would normally ask if I was in a regular room how many DBAs are in the room, but I'll skip that. So if you're running, I will say that if you are running SQL Server 2000 or less, none of this about what I'm about to show you will work. It has to be on SQL Server 2005 and above. So why would you want to do this? And I'll explain why I had to do it at I work for a Fortune 50 company, very large company. We actually have, just for SQL Server, we have, I think, about 50 DBAs right now, both onshore and offshore. And it came down from, I had a manager at the time who was came from the mainframe world, and they were able to control sysadmin type access. They could provide it on demand. And at the time, and this was back in 2007, he was asking, why can't we do this in SQL Server? Well, the issue for us at that time is we still, even back then, still had a lot of SQL Server 2000. And there was, at that point, there really wasn't any way, easy way to control sysadmin access unless you were going to buy some kind of third-party tool, which I didn't even explore back then because it was just too difficult to try to even go into that. Because back then, DBAs, in my experience, most DBAs are sysadmins back then. And if you don't know, when you are sysadmin, you basically, there are no permission checks when you log in. So there's no way for, at that point in time, to lock a sysadmin, a DBA with sysadmin rights out of anything. So this was becoming a more prominent issue with our risk and compliance teams, our audit teams, and they kept coming back to me and asking, can we do this? And back then, it wasn't possible until newer versions of SQL Server came out. So why would you want to do this? You're going to decrease risk because your DBAs are not going to have access to production 24/7. And I will say that we do this in our production systems. We don't do this in our non-production systems, what I'm about to show you. Auditors don't like always-on sysadmin rights, which is always-on, you know, a little fun and games there, a little pun intended. You have more control of your production databases because you can actually, with the new granular permission set that SQL Server 2005 and above provides, you can actually control access to those systems better. You don't have to grant sysadmin rights to a DBA. You can grant some lower permissions, and they're still able to do most of their work. You'll only grant sysadmin only when they really need it. So when they're troubleshooting, when they have some kind of deployment to do, and it provides another defensive layer on top of all the other things that might be in your environment: firewalls, antivirus, anti-malware, and whatever other protections you have in your environment. So do you have to answer to auditors? I did. And I pushed back on this work for a couple years because it just was too difficult to do. And like I said, we still had a lot of SQL Server 2000, but the thing that the big thing with you notice SQL Server 2014's come out. It now has a permission deny select all user securables, which is basically what I'm doing in the script that I'm going to show you later in the presentation. I actually thought this would be harder to do, but once I did all the analysis and documented what the DBAs were doing, and from my own recollections and day-to-day work, and then from my coworkers and both onshore and offshore, it actually turned out not to be quite as difficult as I thought it would be. I still think doing this is viable for any company right now because most big companies, they don't adopt the latest version right away. So I think what you're about to see is definitely worth investigating if you're in a similar situation and you have a lot of DBAs and you need to provide better control of your production environments. So there's 6 steps to lock down a server. The first thing we need to call out is that that came about in 2005 and above that make this all possible. And if you don't remember anything but these 2 things from this presentation, the fact that Microsoft created a control server permission, and then they also created more granular permission set